Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, July 30th, 2023. Now if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my $19 rundown best bet, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Sunday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Tyler Anderson and Jose Barrios are your starters. Now, the Blue Jays have struggled against lefties pretty much overall in 2023, but they are improving those numbers a little bit, especially in the OPS department. Strikeout rate's going down, the walk rate's going up. The power numbers still aren't great, but an ERA for Tyler Anderson above 5 on the season. Don't really love him in this spot. He struggled against the Pirates, another team that's struggling offensively in his last game, giving up 4 earned runs and a home run. The Angels went on to win that game, but they're facing Jose Barrios here, who has pitched very well at Rogers Center this season with a sub-3 ERA at home. And behind him is a very good Toronto Blue Jays bullpen. I think the Blue Jays have a big advantage of the starting pitching matchup and the bullpen game, when the Angels bullpen in the last 30 days has a very steep ERA above 6. I do think Toronto will be able to compete offensively here, so give me the Blue Jays on the money line. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves hosting the Milwaukee Brewers. We're going to see Colin Rea going for Milwaukee. No official starter for Atlanta. Colin Rea has given up a lot of sharp contact lately, and that's a concern when you're going on the road facing a powerful lineup like the Braves, who are leading baseball as a team in home runs and have crushed right into pitchers this season and in the last 30 days. They're number one in isolated power against righties in the last 30 days, and Colin Rea's given up 5 homers in July, at least 1 in each of his first 4 starts in the month. I do think he struggles here, even though he's been improving a little bit as the season's gone on. And, Atlanta will have to see who the official starter is. Their bullpen has improved the last 30 days with 3.25 ERA. I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here in a lean. Not my favorite game, but I'll lay the 1.5 runs with Atlanta. Next up, we go to PNC Park as the Phillies take on the Pirates. We're going to see Christopher Sanchez for Philadelphia, Rich Hill on the other side for the Buccos. So a pair of lefties in this game, and the Phillies have much better numbers against lefties offensively than the Pirates do in the last month and overall this season. Pittsburgh is dead last in the league in isolated power, and they are 26th in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the last 30 days with a 27.1% strikeout rate, while Philadelphia, the Phillies, are second in baseball against lefties in team OPS, top 10 in isolated power. Rich Hill, he struggled this year with a 4.82 ERA. Could be his final start as a Pirate, as he is likely to be moved to the trade deadline. I think he struggles here. And Christopher Sanchez, even though he's got that 0-3 record, he's got a sub-3 ERA this season. Coming off a start against the Orioles, a pretty tough lineup where he went 7 innings of 2-run ball, 8 strikeouts, and no walks allowed in the end. The Phillies have not been able to back him up offensively in a lot of his starts, but I think they do here. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies on the money line, and I would lay a little bit on the run line as well. Next up, we go to Miami as the Tigers take on the Marlins. Tarek Skubal and Jesus Luzardo are your starters. For me, this game is more of a coin flip than anything else, and we're not getting coin flip odds, so that's why I think there's value with the Tigers here. I do think the Marlins could win this game, but would I want to price them at minus 175 or minus 180 like we see at the opening moneyline price? No way. Skubal's pitched well, 3.71 ERA, 23 strikeouts in 17 innings, no home runs allowed. So good ERA, even better expected numbers. And yes, Luzardo's pitched very well as well. 3.22 ERA, even better numbers at home at Lone Depot Park. 2 solid bullpens. The Marlins, I do think, have the advantage slightly there. But like I said, in a coin flip type of game, I'd rather take the team getting plus 150 odds on the money line. You could take the 1.5 runs as a little bit of insurance, but I'm just going to take the Detroit Tigers on the money line at that plus 150 price. Next up, we go to Citi Field as the Nationals take on the Mets. We're going to see Trevor Williams and Justin Verlander on the mound, and this one could be the final start for Verlander as a New York Met. Could be, he might be traded before the start even happens. Maybe he doesn't get traded at all. Both of these guys could be traded at the deadline. But I do think when you look at Verlander's numbers, he's pitched a lot better at Citi Field this season. 2.34 ERA and 50 innings of work with a 189 opponent's batting average. I think he pitches well in this game. The Nationals against righties this season have not been great in the last 30 days. Their numbers aren't great either, so I do think Verlander puts together a quality start for the Mets. Trevor Williams has faced the Mets a few times this season. The Mets are hitting righties pretty well in the last month, and Williams has struggled. He's pitched against the Mets in 7 1/3 innings with a 6.14 ERA. Don't love this Nationals bullpen either, so give me the New York Mets here on the run line at Citi Field. Next up, it's the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Chicago White Sox. Aaron Savale and Michael Kopech are your projected starters. And I think the Guardians present a really tough matchup for Michael Kopech, a strikeout-dependent starter who's had control issues really pretty much all season, really all of his career. And this year, no different. We've seen him give up a lot of home runs recently, a lot of walks as well. And I just think against the Guardians, you're not going to get those strikeouts to bail you out. So I really think he's going to struggle in this game. We saw him struggle his last start against the Cubs in a 7-3 loss. And the problem is, I don't think the bullpen or the lineup is going to be there to back him up in the end. Savali, I have some regression concerns in his game, but not enough for me to be worried too much about him. The White Sox have struggled against righties this season. In the last 30 days, they're 22nd in baseball in team OPS against righties with a pretty steep strikeout rate of 24.4%. The Guardians have the much better bullpen as well, so as long as they get on the board early, I think they win this game and honestly cover the run line as well. But I'm just going to take the Cleveland Guardians on the money line on the road. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Kansas City Royals. Kenta Maeda and Ryan Yarbrough are your starters. I like both of these matchups for the starting pitchers. Kenta Maeda's pitched really well as of late. You look at that ERA of 4.62, it doesn't tell the full story. Look at his last 5 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 5 of those games. He's had 6 or more strikeouts in 4 of those 5 starts, and he's won his last 4 games, or the Twins have won his last 4 games, against the Mariners twice, the A's, and these Kansas City Royals. In that Royals outing, he went 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. I think he pitches well in this one, but Ryan Yarbrough is also really improving his game. You look at that 4.7 ERA, it doesn't tell the full story in my opinion. His last 4 starts, 3 earned runs or fewer in all 4 of those games. The Royals are actually 3-1 in those games, believe it or not. And even though he's not a strikeout-heavy starter facing a team that strikes out quite a bit, the Twins do struggle mightily against left-handed pitchers pretty much overall this year. In the last 30 days as well, Minnesota's 27th in baseball in team OPS against lefties, and a powerful lineup like this is still 23rd in baseball against lefties in isolated power. Give me the under in the first 5 innings. I don't trust either of these bullpens, especially Kansas City's. Give me the under in the first 5. Next up, we see the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Houston Astros. No official starter for Tampa Bay right now, but I am seeing Tyler Glass now on MLB.com. I do think he will be the starter here, or if not, maybe an opener before him, and then he'll get the start afterwards. But Brandon Bielak should be going for Houston. Bielak's got that 3.62 ERA, but I still have my regression concerns in his game. Gives up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs. His control's been off his last 2 starts, giving up 7 walks combined. He doesn't have that great strikeout stuff to back it up, so I do think he struggles here. I think this is a good spot for the Tampa Bay Rays lineup to break out a bit. This Rays bullpen's made improvements. Glass now is a good starting pitching option. Give me the Tampa Bay Rays here on the money line on the road. Next up, we go to St. Louis as the Cubs take on the Cardinals. We're going to see Kyle Hendricks and Steven Matz on the mound. Steven Matz just faced this Cubs lineup. He pitched well in that game, and I got to give him credit overall. He's pitched better as of late. His last start against Arizona, 6 innings, no runs, 6 strikeouts. I could see him pitching well in this game, but it is tough to face the same lineup twice in a very short span of time. The Cubs have hit lefties pretty well in the last 30 days, good power numbers. So, I do think Matz, it's kind of up in the air what we're going to see from him, but we do know behind Matz is the Cardinals bullpen, and, the bullpen's given up, it has a 6 ERA, above 6 ERA in the last month. Not good expected numbers to go with it. So I think even if the Cubs don't get to Steven Matz, they'll be able to get to this bullpen. Hendricks has pitched well. He's been able to go deeper into ball games. 6 1/3 his last start against the White Sox, a quality start there in a 7-3 Cubs win. The Cubs have won 4 of his last 5 starts. He has yet to face the Cardinals once this season, so an advantage there for the lack of familiarity for the Cardinals batters. And I do think the Cubs win this game in the end. So give me the Chicago Cubs on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Graham Ashcraft and Michael Grove are your starters in this one. Now, Graham Ashcraft has been better on the road this year, and he has been better as of late in general, but he is starting to give up some more sharp contact. We saw him walk 4 batters in his last game against the Brewers in a 3-2 loss. Now going into Dodger Stadium, facing a red-hot Dodgers lineup that's just crushing righties in the last month, and pretty much overall this season as well. In the last 30 days, they're number 1 in baseball in team OPS, number 3 in isolated power, a below 20% strikeout rate, and above 12% walk rate. I do think this could be a really tough spot for Ashcraft and this not great Reds bullpen. Michael Grove, not my favorite option to back, but he has been better as of late as well. His last 9 2/3 innings against the Orioles and Blue Jays, 2 tough lineups, 10 strikeouts, and only 3 runs allowed with no home runs conceded as well. I think he's good enough here. I think the Dodgers win this game and cover the run line in the end, so I'll lay those 1.5 runs here with LA. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to see Luis Castillo and Muriel Kelly on the mound in this game. Now, I thought it was a really nice bounce-back outing for Luis Castillo in his last start, and it really wasn't an easy spot to be in. He faced the same lineup twice in the same week. The Minnesota Twins, he faced them on July 19th. He was okay in that game, gave up a couple of home runs, still a quality start. In the end, he had 11 strikeouts, but then he faced them the same week on the road at Target Field. The Twins play really good baseball, a winning record there, and he went 7 innings of 2-run ball with 9 strikeouts, No home runs allowed this time. Now, the Mariners didn't win that game in the end. They lost it in extras. But I still thought it was a really nice outing for Castillo. I like him in this spot against a struggling Diamondbacks team. And, Merrill Kelly at home this season, a little bit steeper ERA than on the road. The Diamondbacks bullpen has struggled as of late with an ERA at 6.21 in the last 30 days and the fourth highest SIERA in baseball. I like the Mariners in this game on the money line on the road. Next up, we go to Coors Field as the Rockies host the Athletics. Luis Medina going for Oakland. No official starter for the Rockies. Luis Medina is going to be his first career start at Coors Field. But as of late, he's been pitching really well for Oakland. His last 2 starts against some tough teams, winning teams in the Houston Astros and the Boston Red Sox. He went 10 2/3 combined, only 5 base hits, only 1 run, and 12 strikeouts. And that's been the thing for Medina. Even though he's got that 5.5 ERA, he's given up a lot of sharp contact. He has been able to miss bats, 70 strikeouts in 70 1/3 innings this year. It's important to miss bats when you're pitching at Coors Field. I do think the Rockies will be able to get to him for a few runs, but this Rockies bullpen has not been great this season. I think Oakland competes in this game. It's not my favorite game on the board, but I'll lean towards the road underdogs here in the Oakland A's on the money line. Next up, we go to San Francisco as the Red Sox take on the Giants. No official starter for Boston right now. We've seen them utilize a lot of bullpen games in the last month or so. Ross Stripling and the Giants have also used a lot of bullpen games in the overall in 2023. And I bet the Giants looking for that extra starting pitcher at the trade deadline so that they don't have to use Ross Stripling in this role for too much longer. He has struggled. He's 0-4 with a 5.77 ERA this season. Even steeper 7.97 ERA at Oracle Park, which is surprising because Oracle Park's one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks in the league. But Stripling, even though you look at the numbers, his last couple of games, some quality starts against the Reds and the Tigers, the Giants still went on to lose those games. He gave up 10 base hits in his last start against Detroit, so a lot of base runners. And facing a Red Sox team has crushed righties as of late. I don't love his chances here. Boston's 5th in baseball in isolated power against righties, 2nd in team OPS, pretty low strikeout rate against righties in the last month. I think the Red Sox get to Stripling. I like the way this Red Sox bullpen has improved the last month or so. I'm taking the Boston Red Sox on the money line at Oracle Park. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the San Diego Padres. Nathan Eovaldi and Blake Snell are your starters. I'm a little bit concerned with Nathan Eovaldi going into this start. We know the Rangers skipped his last outing. His last start was on July 18th against the Rays. And you look at the numbers, the earned run-wise and base hit-wise, it's been pretty fine for Nathan Eovaldi's last 5 games. But the big concern for me is the strikeout numbers are starting to dip and the walk numbers are starting to rise. And we look at his last 3 games against the Astros, Red Sox, and Rays. 5 or fewer strikeouts in all 3 of those games and 3 or more walks allowed in those 3 starts as well. Now you're going on the road facing a Padres team that, yes, has been a disappointment, but in the last 30 days and really the last 2 months have hit righties very well. Top 10 team OPS against righties, top 10 in isolated power, the second lowest strikeout rate at 17.5%, and the second highest walk rate, only behind the Dodgers, in walk percentage against righties, so 11% there. That's a bad matchup for Eovaldi, who's struggling with both those Ks per 9 and walks per 9 in his last couple of games. I do think he could have a rough outing here, and Blake Snell on the other side has been really solid for San Diego. In the month of June, he had a .87 ERA. In the month of July so far, he's even better, .67 ERA. Striking out batters, we know his control is always a little bit of a concern. He usually walks 3 or more batters per start, but he misses a lot of bats. He hasn't given up a single home run in the month of July. It's a tough matchup here against the Rangers, but I do think Snell will pitch well in the first 5 innings. I'm going to take San Diego in the first 5 and take him on the money line the full game as well in this one. And the final game for Sunday's card in Major League Baseball, it's the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles on Sunday Night Baseball, ESPN, 7 o'clock Eastern. Luis Severino and Dean Kramer are your starters. Now, Dean Kramer's been one of the more profitable starting pitchers in baseball this year. He's got a 10-4 record personally, and the Orioles have won a lot of his games this year. He's been competitive. His last start against the Phillies, 7 innings of 1-run ball. His strikeout numbers have kind of been all over the place this year. Recently, hasn't been able to miss a lot of bats. Before that, he had 18 strikeouts against the Yankees and Marlins in 13 innings combined. But he's winning games for Baltimore. He's pitching well. I think he pitches well in this game. Even though Aaron Judge back in the lineup, the Yankees still offensively not great in the last month, against right-handed pitchers. And you look at Luis Severino's got that 6.46 ERA on the other side. He's struggled on the road, a 7.62 ERA with an 0-3 record. His last start against the Kansas City Royals, he still gave up 2 home runs in the end. I don't like him in this spot. Give me the Baltimore Orioles on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.